Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and yesterday Apple released iPadOS 26 Beta 1. And this is a large update. I'm going to get into what features are new in iPadOS 26 Beta 1, but before I do, I will say I am not running the iPadOS 26 Developer Beta. But next month, that may change as I'm thinking about installing the public beta. But right now, I am currently running iPadOS 18.5. But just like I usually do, we're going to talk about what's new in iPadOS 26 Beta 1. I did make a video talking about what features are new in iOS 26, and some of my favorite features, as that's quite the update. But there is some features that I am excited to share that are not just for iPad Pro models, but every single iPad that runs iPadOS 26. But before I get into that, let's talk about supported iPads. iPadOS 26 supports the iPad 8th generation and newer. Unfortunately, the iPad 7th generation is no longer supported. If you have the iPad 8th generation from 2020, that is supported. The iPad Air 3rd generation is supported and later. 11-inch first generation iPad Pro and later, as well as 3rd generation 12.9-inch iPad Pro and later. And also iPad mini 5th generation and later is also supported. The only iPad that is dropped is the iPad 7th generation, and I'm assuming that's due to its hardware. That device has the A10 Fusion chip, and it probably won't run iPadOS 26 all that great. Now, let's talk about new features that is in iPadOS 26. And the first feature I'm going to start off with is the home screen. With iPadOS 26, you now have sort of this liquid glass type of home screen. Liquid glass is what Apple calls it. The app dock is more lighter. You can see here it looks more darker. But if we go to it here, if we go to some of the images here, screenshots that I've taken. If we take a look here, we have light. I believe that's supposed to be an icon for dark. That's a clear option. And they've moved all of their menu where it says small and large, I'm assuming, to the bottom. Some of these screenshots are not as clear when you zoom in to some of the wording. But as you take a look here, I pulled up the app picker. The screenshot or the app picker here showing the logo, the small and large icons are at the top. In iPadOS 26, they've changed this. We have our logos, our wording at the bottom. And this new clear look that Apple calls it, this is what that looks like. It's supposedly sort of a liquid glass type of design. Now, there is another feature that I want to get into, and it's not just with the cameras. We'll talk about that in just a sec. But with iPadOS 26, I want to mention this feature first because I am really excited that Apple is doing this and the way that they're doing it. There is a new feature for the camera, or a new feature for multitasking on iPad. The Stage Manager feature, that's still there, but it's not called Stage Manager anymore, or at least the newer version of it. It's called the Window Management or the Windowing System. And this is available on every iPad that supports iPadOS 26. Even if you have the iPad 8th generation with the A12 Bionic chip from 2020, that iPad as well is going to get the new windowing system. And here is another logo, another picture of what that looks like. You basically can open apps in Windows, kind of like what you can do on Mac OS. And speaking of Mac OS, there is another thing that they brought over to the iPad that I want to mention. The traffic light symbol that is found on Mac OS, the red button closes the app, the yellow button puts it in the dock, and the green button makes it full screen or half screen. Apple brought that over to the iPad. And not only that, they brought it to all iPads. So even if you have, again, the iPad 8th generation from 2020, you will get this feature. This is the biggest update that Apple's could have done for the iPad. And to me personally, I am absolutely amazed that Apple brought this over, because Stage Manager was one of the greatest features, but it unfortunately never supported the iPad Air from 2020. I believe it could have, as the iPad Pro from 2018, the base model with 4 gigs of RAM, A12X chip, ended up getting Stage Manager, but the iPad Air with the newer processor ended up not getting it. But now we have the new windowing system, which is basically Stage Manager. And there is also a little update to Safari. You have a back arrow, and I believe you also have a forward arrow. But I can't tell exactly what's new in this update with Safari. The tab does look a little different, but I believe the compact tab bar is still there. But the progress, the navigation bar on iPads that don't have home buttons goes away just like on the iPhone. Also, they have done an update to Files. Files now has the update to where it's similar to Finder on the Mac. You now have that in iPadOS 26. Now, this is one large update. The Journal app. The Journal app is now available on iPad. The Journal app is a feature on the iPhone, but it's now available in iPadOS 26. Also, I forgot to mention this earlier, we also have a video games app and a preview app, but also we got the phone app. The phone app found in iOS, and I believe this works with continuity camera. You have to have your iPhone. You don't have to have your iPhone because iPads are able to do Wi-Fi calling via Wi-Fi, as well as calling with cellular data. You don't really have to have your iPhone with continuity camera, but the phone app is now available on the iPad. But I believe you might have to have it for Mac OS, or maybe not. I believe the Mac can do Wi-Fi calling as well. But on Mac OS, we have the Magnifier app that you will need continuity camera for, as the MacBook doesn't have a rear camera. So those are some features in iPadOS 26. Oh, well, one feature I did forget. The control center. Now, on the iPhone, it makes the wallpaper extremely dark. However, it doesn't do that on the iPad. When you activate Control Center, it doesn't make the wallpaper dark. Now, as far as what else is in this update, for the most part, those are all the features that are specific to iPad. Everything in the new feature with the inspired glass redesign, the updates to the phone and FaceTime app with large contact photos, backgrounds in iMessage, the new hello screen, and you probably will get the hello screen where it draws out the word hello but in a different color. And you'll also get it drawing out the word welcome or welcome to iPad when you're done with going through your setup processes with the iPad. And the camera app is also redesigned. So that's everything new in iPadOS 26. I am thinking about putting the public beta on my iPad Air 4th generation. But if you are thinking about installing the developer beta, I would caution against doing that unless you have another iPad to put it on, or unless you have a computer to downgrade. Even though Apple made files similar to Finder, I don't know if you can use an iPad now that it's definitely more Mac-like to downgrade your iOS 26 device back down to iOS 18, or in the future, downgrade your iOS 27 device down to iOS 26 with the iPad, since Files now has that Finder sort of look. I guess that's something I'll have to do research on in the future. But right now, if you do install the beta, it's very unstable. That's why I don't have the beta, but I have screenshots and pictures to show. But if I do end up installing the public beta, I will test it on my iPhone first for about a week and then put it on my iPad as I'm getting the iPhone 14, allowing me to use my iPhone 12 as a beta testing device. I've mentioned that in a lot of videos. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I am Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.